I'm going to ask everyone to please sit down. It's 8:31 a.m. We are past our start time, so I need everyone to please find a seat so we can get this meeting rolling. So it is officially called to order at 8:31 a.m. on this Tuesday, January the 21st. As usual, we will start with our chaplain prayer and pledges. We have Chaplain Marcella Jenkins here to lead us in both. Would you please come forward, please? Good morning.
Everyone.
Why don't somebody pull that out and get the microphone positioned correctly, please?
Thank you.
Is it on?
Yes,
The
it's
three
on.
button on?
Yes,
Okay.
we're good now. Can everyone bow their heads? Father in heaven, we ask for your wisdom as we begin this meeting. We acknowledge that we need your wisdom and insight, and we welcome your presence among us. Guide us in our discussions and decisions, helping us to seek what is best for all involved. We trust you in your perfect wisdom and ask that you direct our meeting according to your will. In James 1:5, it says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." We claim this promise as we start our meeting and trust in your provision. We pray for our Honorable Mayor Brenda Gunter, this council, our first responders, and this city. May the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us. May the hand of God protect us. May the way of God direct us. May the love of God go with us this day and forever. And God, I ask for a very, very special favor. Please warm up the weather. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. The pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And then it went dark. Not yet. We'll move into the public comment portion of the agenda. Members of the public may raise issues or concerns not listed on the regular agenda during this time. To participate, please sign in with the city clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Speakers will be called in the order they signed in. When speaking, citizens must speak from the podium, address all comments to the dais, begin by stating your name and address or single-member district number, and limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less. Heather, do we have people offering public comment today?
We have one, Jamal Schumpert.
Okay.
Jamal Shumpert, single member, district number 3. Today, Mayor, I'm up here to talk to you about some opportunities we may have to close the gap between the 35 to maybe 55,000, and maybe.
Jamal, could I ask you to speak a little louder? Because with the mask, some of your sound is diminished, so we can't hear as well as we'd like.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here today to discuss some programs, maybe trade programs that you offer your out-of-college students so that they don't have to go through the workforce. The workforce, you have to be low income. That doesn't really work for a lot of your citizens who may go to $35,000. But they don't want to make 35. Maybe they want to make 50, or maybe they want to make 70. That's why I think that it's the city, not necessarily responsibility, but it's an opportunity for us to go in and use Howard College's license or Angelo State's license to do educational training programs to give these people certificates so that they can go up the ladder from 30,000 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60 with different trade skills. And we'll also be able to use that as an asset to bring a lot of companies here to San Angelo, because if we don't have the workforce for the companies, they're not going to be looking at us, and no matter how much incentives we give. The next thing I had to talk about was the rate study. I don't think in December we should have passed the rate study on the consent agenda item. I believe we should have discussed the rate study. A lot of important things are in that rate study over the next 10, 20, 30 years to pay for our water. And if we don't discuss that as a community, then we're really making a decision as maybe 7 to 9 people. And I think it's very important that we discuss some of those capital improvement project plans. Maybe we need a whole new water system. Every 5 or 6 years, $100 million worth of equipment and expenses. That's what I was looking at. And on the animal shelter, one thing I had a question of, I don't think is it our policy for one animal service worker to go out and check on 12 dogs, 10 dogs, multiple dogs? I think that was a question not really addressed during that animal shelter meeting. And the fact that we creating an ad hoc committee, isn't that exactly, it's not an ad hoc committee, but it is a committee, the animal committee, animal services committee. They have the exact same power as the ad hoc committee. Maybe restore some of the animal services board committee's powers, and maybe some of the suggestions they give y'all we could work on. I'm almost out of time. I have a few more things. Outside of that, Parks and Recreation, I'd advise y'all to look at their meeting. They are implementing some wonderful things for San Angelo. Thank you.
Is that the only public comment for today? All right. With that, we will now move into our consent agenda. Larry, is there an item you'd like to pull off of the consent agenda? Karen?
K, please.
Item K. Lucy?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to pull item L. Harry?
No, ma'am.
Tom? Tommy? May I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda items A through J?
So moved.
So moved by Harry, seconded by Karen. Any public comment concerning items on the consent agenda, which are items A through items J?
No. None.
Any public comment?
None.
We'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda with exception of items K and L, please say aye.
Aye.
Hearing all ayes, the motion to pass the consent agenda with exception of K and L has been passed. We will now move into the consent agenda K. Consider a resolution accepting the donation of equipment from MHMR for the San Angelo Police Department. Karen, you're on.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I would just like to ask Chief Griffith to come forward and give us a little bit of an expansion on that short sentence. Tell us what's coming.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all very much. Thank you, Mayor. Somebody left the air conditioner on outside. I don't know if you noticed this the last few days, so we're hoping to get warmed up. I wanted to just come forth and say a big thank you to West Texas Guidance and Counseling and MHMR. It's imperative, I think, as a community that we highlight when nonprofits step up and help us in our public safety measures. And they have put forth a grant through the assistance of West Texas Guidance and Counseling, and MHMR is going to be fulfilling that grant. And that grant's going to provide us with iPads that we can use in the field to directly communicate with those that are in need of mental health services, that can directly communicate with staff of MHMR. They're also providing for the services for those iPads, so it's going to be in between 28 and 33, depending on our pricing. But that way we can deploy those in real time and help people that maybe are falling in between the direct crisis where we take them to services, or help them talk them into maybe going to the diversion center, which they've worked on diligently to help keep people out of jail, out of hospitals, and get them to the mental help that they need. So I wanted to highlight that and say thank you to them, and say thank you to Craig Thomason, Assistant Chief, for working through this and getting it done. I also wanted to provide y'all guys with some coins from the police department. Our coins are important in law enforcement. We give those out, and it really means a lot. It means we respect you. So thank you guys very much. And if I could, I'm going to ask, can we give them a hand? Is that possible? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Craig, would you like to say anything? Craig?
Grade 1 and grade 2.
Oh, sorry. Both of you could speak should you want to.
I was just going to expand just a bit. This grant that we got was something we submitted last February, and we just received notice, what was it, mid-December? And it backdated to October, so it's kind of one of those words. It is a state crisis intervention grant through the Office of the Governor to support projects that promote the prevention, intervention, and reduction of crime and violence and provide essential crisis services to at-risk populations within Texas communities. It's federal funds. It's authorized under the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act for the grant opportunity, partnering with West Texas Counseling and then also with San Angelo Police Department. And what we want to do is ensure that individuals in the Concho Valley experiencing crisis have access to wraparound services to avoid preventable inpatient hospitalization, jail, law enforcement interactions, or use of other restrictive treatment due to mental health crisis. And so what we've done, West Texas Counseling took the lead on the grant. They wrote it, we were partnered with it, but they wrote it for us. And like I said, we just got it. We're very excited to be able to get this connectivity to our officers out on the front line.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. Would anybody else like to ask a question or like more information? We're thrilled. Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of item K, please? Motion to approve. Karen has made a motion, a second by Lucy. Any public comment? We'll take a vote. Gotta be fast. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Item L, consider approving policies recommended by the Public Art Commission for 1, artwork donation and loan policy and application, and 2, deassessing. I'm not even sure what this word is, but I'll try here. Is it in the dictionary?
Deaccessioning.
Yeah, yes, policy. Carl, I want you to talk about that because we've had a policy in place. There were several people who on the Public Art Commission several years ago who said we already had a policy. So what's the change in the policy and why is there a request to change the policy?
The guidelines that were worked up by the Public Art Commission some years ago were really geared towards the city taking an active stance, having funds to actually commission artwork and consider that artwork. So the guidelines that were passed then basically supported that. What we've experienced the last several years is that the Public Art Commission reviews and considers art that's being donated or loaned. If you think about the Sunken Garden Park where the sculpture garden is, we worked with the Museum of Fine Arts and Mr. Richard Salmon, who created that program, and it's that artwork there is temporary. Other artwork has been donated by Art in Uncommon Places. So the guidelines that we had were really effective in being used to consider loaned or donated art. That was the reason for considering new guidelines.
I get that part. It's the part about deassessing.
Deaccessioning. Well, in the research to update our guidelines, I discovered the city of Austin had this policy for deaccessioning, and from time to time we have considered artwork for deaccessioning. So I thought maybe we should have this already in place in case we need to do that. That's the
So
reason.
basically, it's art we want to take out.
Yes, ma'am.
So why I'm concerned and questioning this is that maybe over a year ago, maybe it's been 2 years, there was a sculpture in one of the parks that we said was not stable, was a problem, and we needed to remove it. And I questioned why we needed to remove it. That was 2 years ago, and it's still standing. So the question is, what does this policy do that the other policy didn't do?
We didn't have a deaccessioning policy before.
I was told we did have, that in the
Not
previous Public
deaccessioning.
Arts Commission, they had created, as a part of that policy, what we do when we needed to remove a piece of art or sculpture. And you're saying we didn't have anything in that policy before?
About deaccessioning.
Okay. So this is new.
Yes, ma'am.
And so explain to me about the piece the sculpture that is still standing?
We made it safe, so it's not going to fall on anybody. The last direction we got was to look at considering, before we take it out, could something else go in its place? And we have not made progress on that.
But you've stabilized it, so it's just fine as it is, staying where it is.
Yes.
It is for now. The other thing y'all asked us to do was look into, I think, through Central, through the groups there, was there a way to get it recommissioned to blah, blah, blah? So yes, it is stabilized for now. Is that going to last forever? No. So it still needs to be, in my opinion, addressed in some way in the future.
But it's safe, and it's there, and it'll be there till it's not safe, is that correct?
I can't promise that.
Unless
Just asking.
we have no plans to do anything with it at this point.
What I want to hear. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Larry?
Yes, ma'am. My problem with this is it doesn't include donors and potential family members. It goes immediately to sale, and the person that donated isn't given an opportunity to perhaps retrieve the artwork.
In the deaccessioning policy?
Yes.
I thought that was in there.
No, sir.
I'll relook at that and make sure that that's in there.
The other part of it is, and I love that mural of Elmer Kelton that's on the wall there. But someday, that's going to be chipped, and the weather's going to affect it, and all that kind of things. Now, if I was a member of the Kelton family and I drove by there to find it's whitewashed, I would be extremely upset. So I think in some cases, there might be a logical reason to contact family.
Yes.
Paint that was used for Elmer Kelton, as many of the other murals, was paint that was to last 25 to 30 years. So it might happen. We'd probably need a policy when it does happen. But also, once it's given, right?
I'm just saying the opportunity doesn't have to follow that course.
And how would
but,
you take a mural off of the wall? Just asking.
Well, in my concern, that's the concern I had was with the family in that case. I'm not talking about returning it to the donor. What I'm saying is, I think it would be, well, I'll say rude, if in fact we have that mural up there and it's deteriorating and we don't contact the family to notify them that we're going to paint over the wall.
One of the issues with those murals is the following. Multiple people donated to have those things done. So the family didn't necessarily donate money towards it, but many people did donate money, and there were fundraisers to pay for it. So the family, quote, doesn't own it, if you will. The organization that oversees the murals owns the murals.
I realize that.
Okay, so just a point of information.
And
Okay.
to clarify, this policy is about public art on public property. Some of those murals are on private property. So it
Correct.
didn't get consideration of the Public Art Commission.
Right, and I think a bunch of them are on private property.
They
on
are.
Private buildings, so really the city at that point would really have no say if they chose to paint over it or not. So those on the private buildings was a partnership between the owner and, what was the mural group called?
Now,
So
Mural.
really, the city isn't,
Yes.
other than, so in some cases, we won't have any authority over it.
It's a good question.
I was just using it as an example. There's obviously other pieces of artwork around town that are city property that potentially could fall into this problem.
Any other questions or comments for Carl? Then may I have a motion for approval of item L?
Move to approve.
Lucy moved, Harry seconded. Public comment?
None.
No. Take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Excuse me? Oh, one vote of a nay. I'll correct my statement, 6-1. Moving on to the regular agenda. Comments regarding items on the regular agenda may be made by the public when each item is discussed as outlined above. To participate, please sign in with the city clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Speakers will be called in the order they signed in. Comments are limited to less than 3 minutes. Applicants, proponents, and appellants are exempt from the time limit above and instead must limit their remarks to less than 5 minutes. Item 6A, consider approving the purchase of 805 West Avenue N from CVI Group, LLC, and Steel City Investment, LLC, for purchase price and closing costs not to exceed $595,000, utilizing general fund balance and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute all related documents. Sarah, you're on.
Good morning. Carl and I are here if you have any questions regarding the purchase of the property or the future of the purchase of this property. Is there any questions?
Council, do you have questions or requests for more information? Karen?
I see the Friends of Fairmount have gathered in substantial numbers this morning, and I want to be sure that they have correctly understood this initiative and have no questions themselves. I realize they needed to probably sign up in advance, but is that group satisfied with this? And
That would require public comment and somebody to sign up ahead of time.
I know
and so
that. Yes,
it's
ma'am. Yes.
not. Okay. Any other questions from council? Comments? Then we are ready to have a motion for approval of item A.
So move.
Karen made a motion, seconded by Harry. Public comment concerning this item at this point? None. So we will take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Item B, consider approving the following items pertaining to the 2025 annual seal coat project. 1, entering into an interlocal agreement with Tom Green County and amending the fiscal year 2024-25 budget for the corresponding reimbursed expenses. And 2, awarding ES-02-25 2025 annual seal coat project to Clark Construction of Texas Incorporated in the amount of $635,697.39 and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute all related documents. Patrick, you are on.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Just real quick, we recently received our bids back from our 2025 annual seal coat request for bids, and Clark Construction was the low bidder for that award. The reason we're here on regular agenda today is because I think this is the 4th year in a row now that we have partnered with the county to get some economy of scale. So we absolutely got that. The Clark Construction gave us a very favorable bid. We verified all of their materials and all of their sources, as well as their references. So we're confident that they'll do a good job for us. We are partnering with the county, like I said. So the county's portion is going to be about $2.1 million. The city's is going to be about $4.4 million. It's on regular agenda because we have a budget amendment to receive that money back from the county into our budget this year. So it needed to be presented to you all with that budget amendment to council for that amendment to the budget.
Do we normally do an amendment to the budget at the time we approve the expenditure? Because usually it's a second presentation by Tina in terms of a budget amendment.
For the seal coat process, there is an allowance that if we take the budget amendment along with the award of the bid, that we can do it in one reading with that award. So we do have that allowance, but we also have the alternative that you spoke. So we have 2 methods to do that.
I'd like Tina to speak, please.
Okay.
Tina Deersky, Director of Finance. We do have included in our budget ordinance that if we word the caption correctly, that we can do a reading in do a budget amendment in one reading along with the project. So that's why it's on the regular agenda with that caption
Okay.
worded that way.
All things legal. With that, may I have a motion for approval of item B?
I'd like to make a comment, please.
You sure
Ask a
can.
question, really.
Which we can do after we make a motion for approval.
So move then.
Okay.
Second.
A second by Tommy. Now, would you like to ask a question or make a comment?
Thank you. Patrick,
We're official.
Clark Construction was more than $1 million less than the other two bidders. And I heard you say that you checked all the materials and everything like that. That really concerns me from the standpoint that you don't have three companies that are within $100,000 or so. Are we sure that we're going to get what we're going to pay for on this particular item?
Again, that's, like you said, I made that statement because we were concerned as well whenever we saw that, that bid and just the discrepancy between the other two bids and Clark. So we did reach out to Clark. We had them send us their manifest for their material that they were going to purchase, the rock as well as the asphalt, where their sources were. They're actually using CSA materials for their rock, so we're very familiar with that. We checked the references. They've done work with TxDOT before. They've done work with other municipalities, and they all gave us good reviews on that. So at this point, we have no reason to question the product that they will give us at this point, especially for that price point.
I guess we just saved $1 million. That's a good opportunity for the citizens.
That's usually a good thing.
Thank you, Harry. Other comments, questions for Patrick from anyone on council? Seeing none. We've had a motion and we have a second public comment on this item.
Jamal Schumpert.
Jamal?
Jamal Shumpert, single member, District Number 3. Pretty much like everything Patrick does, especially since he did the community connectivity project. He's always in good favor with me. But I'm up here to discuss maybe the order of operations of this project. I noticed that you have some of the east side of your town being paved, which is single member District Number 3, where I stay. I'm not so sure if we've done our lead and copper rural revision check in that area, and if we have a major boo-boo there where we're the ones, giving our lead with cast iron pipes, then it may be a huge problem to dig up all the stuff we just paid. I would say go check probably a few houses to make sure, a few different blocks to make sure you don't have cast iron pipes delivered to those residents in that area that you're about to pay. Outside of that, I say, hey, go ahead with it. I'd love for our roads to get paved. And if I'm correct, y'all have paved the roads more than any other city council twice over, 2 or 3 times over. So I continue the good job. I just don't want you to have to cut up the road after you put it down because it looks so pretty once it's done.
We like pretty roads. Yeah.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Is that it? All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. May I have a vote? All those in favor? And Larry, I'll make sure I understand your vote before I move on this one. Okay. All those in favor of approving item B, say aye.
Aye.
No noes, no nays. Motion is approved 7-0.
Thank you.
Item C, discussion and possible direction from council regarding the downtown San Angelo banner campaign with locations and artwork. And today we have Carl and Aaron to present.
Thank you, Mayor. Myself and Carl are really here just to help explain any process that y'all have questions on that would have gone through city boards like the Public Art Commission or the Design and Historic Review Commission. But Monica Ramos, the Executive Director of Downtown San Angelo, is going to do a presentation of what those banners look like, and y'all will have the opportunity to ask her questions as well as her contingent that is here to support her. So I'm going to turn it over to Monica now. So.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
So this has been a project that we have been working on for about 2 years now. It's been an idea to bring this project back to life. We titled it Celebrating Downtown because we had a 20-year anniversary last year, and so Celebrating Downtown is about our organization's anniversary, but as well as how downtown has transformed over the past 20 years. And we see it to continue thriving, and we want to add a little extra vibrancy to our downtown and be able to continue to promote tourism and provide something for our locals to enjoy as they visit downtown. The banner project isn't new to our organization. Our design committee established a banner program in 2008. It was called Walk Through Time banners. These were red banners that were all over downtown with a black and white historic photo of a building in that area from that time, and it had a small brief description as well as what that building was. So it paid tribute to our history of historic downtown San Angelo. We want to bring this back to life, revive the banner program. Since then, these banners have weathered away. They've become torn and tattered. There might be one or two that are still up right now. So this is good timing for us to be able to remove those remaining banners and add some new banners into play. Also, with our new streetscape, this will be a complement to the streetscape and the black tie cowboy artwork. These banners have symbols of downtown as well as San Angelo. They showcase attractions, cultural activities, designations, almost anything that you can think of that describes downtown or is an attraction or an organization of downtown. We have them on these banners, and there's a total of 40 banners that we plan to have presented all across our core of downtown. The design was made with help from Media Advantage. They did a wonderful job of putting these designs together. They're playful, they're fun, they're attractive, again, vibrant, something that will keep all activities of downtown top of mind when someone is driving or walking through downtown. It increases the walkability of our downtown as well as promoting all of our greater assets that we have. So we're really excited about bringing this to play and keeping everything top of mind. Keep in mind, we are also, I've mentioned this before, that we are part of the Main Street program. And so these banners fall into play of the 4-point approach that we follow, hitting design and promotion. So we're really excited to present this as well to our Main Street cities and show them what we have brought to the table. Fast Signs will install the signage for us, and downtown San Angelo will maintain the upkeep of the banners if something were to happen to them. And as well, in the photograph, we see an example of the hardware that will match the new street lighting as well to go along with it. Do y'all have any questions, comments?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I was responsible for the previous banner program. And two things. Number one, are they the same length and size of the previous banners?
These are 24 by 52. They are vinyl, so they are pretty thick and hefty material. We have an example here that Andy is holding up.
And they were before as well, vinyl.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I was told was one of the reasons that the banners were constantly coming down was the size of the banner caught the wind, and the wind in downtown or in Texas is very strong.
West Texas.
So the size of the banner, I was told, was the reason they didn't stay up. And so we're redoing them the same size as before, which was considered a problem. And then my next question is, what people really liked about the old banners was, quote, a walk through time. People love to see what a building looks like today versus what it looked like when it was built. And so these are beautiful, but I don't see anything that reflects the renovation of what we were to what we are today. Where's the history here?
So to answer your question about the size, these are slightly larger. The previous banners were about 2 feet by 4 feet, so those were a bit smaller.
And that's my concern, is because I was told the size of them before was they were too large, and so the wind would catch them and pull them down. And so now they're larger, and I'm concerned about that.
Mayor, that's actually really great feedback that we had not heard. We can actually get with Fast Signs and potentially put wind slits and see how we can investigate to make sure that the wind flows through this material a little bit better. Like I said, I think that's something that we weren't aware of, but I do believe that's something we can
It was a big issue.
Respond to.
And so we want to make sure, because we would get them, and it's expensive to put these up.
Yes, ma'am.
It's expensive because most people don't like to do it because you can't do it during normal hours. You got to do it before traffic is downtown. There's no cars on the streets, or on a Sunday, and hopefully there's no cars on the street. And so we would get them up, and within 48 hours, the wind would have taken one down. Yes, there's probably some issues with the hardware being put up incorrectly, meaning what held the rod was upside down, so it didn't hold. But the biggest issue was the size and the wind. And before you go to the expense of putting all these up, we need to make sure that the wind won't take them down the next day after you put them up. And the size is larger, so I have a great concern for that. Although they look beautiful, I don't see any history here.
So in regards to history, I know Monica really wanted to highlight things to do in San Angelo today, and that was the intention of these flags. We do see that there's historical imaging on other pieces of downtown, those electrical boxes. We were part of an initiative that was exploring putting those historic pictures down a little bit lower so that people could review them. And the city, I believe, already did a lot of that downtown. So we wanted to really focus on activities people can do today so that we can just spread the word of other things besides just shopping downtown.
Because a lot of what happens in a downtown is what we call heritage tourism. And that's people who travel to town to see historic redevelopment. And they love to know history. They love to walk around and say, oh my gosh, look at what that looked like. Now look at what it looks like. And I worry that those boxes that you talked about are great, but there's like 6 of them, maybe 4 of them. So I like what I see. They look really nice, but I think there's still some homework to be done on these before you go to the expense of putting them all up.
Oh, we appreciate that, Mayor, and we do appreciate the historical banners that were in place. This here is present day as far as thinking in terms of marketing and promoting our downtown and making it a revitalized, vibrant scene with all the entertainment, all of the locations that you can visit that have normal operating hours. Again, it showcases a bit of everything. It's a taste of the art, our culture, the Concho River, things that you can do at the Concho River, our visitor center. It has a little bit of everything on these banners. We have talked about having a phase 2 of the banners so that they continue on North Chadburn to encompass the rest of our downtown area. But of course, we want to wait for that streetscape and the new lighting to come into play in that area. So incorporating some historical photography or more historical elements can be something that we can add to our second phase.
That's what people like about historic downtowns. Heritage tourism. Yes, Tom?
A couple things here I'll echo. At the Coliseum, there's a entranceway, and it has a lot of the arm rods to do these banners. The first year, we went through the same problem. We said, oh, hey, those are here. We did those. We had issues with the wind. There is a solution, and y'all know this in fast signs. And Andy, you did a good job of saying you can put the wind slits in it, have them double reinforce it there. But these are one of the cheapest, most easiest ways to advertise and show that I've seen. I love seeing this project move forward, but I wanted to reiterate what Brenda said. It's, while she was talking a little bit about content, these things can get torn up, but make sure you go back to fast signs and say, hey, put the wind slits in it, double reinforce the stitching. They will survive, but I will say there's a bunch of rods on a bunch of poles at the Coliseum that y'all could probably go get for free, that they'd be ready to get rid of real quick. And it takes some maintenance to take care of these, but y'all nailed it. But this is good artwork. This is going to be great. Content is always negotiable. That's what I say. Y'all can make some adjustments here and go forward. But I love what I see. Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am. They are gorgeous. I looked at every single one of them, and they're amazing. What do you consider the lifetime on these approximately? Is the manufacturer giving you any particular?
We would say from past experience, at least 8 years total. Of course, if something happens to one of the banners, we'll take action and have fast signs reinstall or replace any banners that are torn or falling down.
and my second question. And we've touched on history and heritage, but I wonder if you gave any thought to having St. Angelo's most famous celebrity on one of these.
Of course.
Does anybody know who that would be?
You always
Would it be
Fess
Fess?
Parker,
Would it be
maybe.
Fess?
Fess Parker. I mean, the man resurrected Davy Crockett. We wouldn't be as aware of what he did in his lifetime than what Disney did with that film with Fess Parker. I think it warrants having a poster, one of these set up for him.
We'll definitely take that into consideration, and we will
There's
be
a
sure
second
to.
go around.
Yes, yes, and we'll be sure to consult with Fast Signs as well and make sure that everything is in its place and going to be good for us moving forward to where that we have minimal maintenance and that these banners stay up as a
I spent
showcase.
6 years doing these banners. So I know about the wind, and I know about the sun, and I know about the hardware. I've been through it all.
I want to take some bets on that 8-year number that you threw up there.
Yeah, you'd lose.
I want to make a comment.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for bringing this project back. I think it's something that downtown is going to bloom because of it, because of the fact that there's something people can just be driving and go, oh, I've never seen this or I've never seen that. Swing by there and look at it and read the history on it. I think it's a great idea, and I hope that you do succeed, and I hope the winds stay a little down.
Thank you.
The wind always blows in West
I
Texas,
know.
but
We can hope.
maybe we could somehow stop the wind at 306 and then like do whatever.
Buildings, make them a little
Because
tall.
the wind is terrible. Thank you. They look great.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Then may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
To approve, second.
A motion by Harry, a second by Lucy. Any public comment on this one?
No.
All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Larry, is that a yay? Motion passes 7-0. Item D, consider request for an appeal of the Design and Historic Review Commission denial of DD 24-15 for demolition of a structure located at 231 West Beauregard. Aaron, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor. Aaron Vanoy, Director of Planning and Development Services. This morning, we have an appeal of a DHRC Design and Historic Review Commission decision, as you said, for 231 West Beauregard. So here on this opening thing, you can see this is in District 3, Mr. Harry Thomas. It's in the downtown neighborhood, and it is the Central Business Zoning District, and it has the overlay of the downtown district. You can see it is right where this black dot is here. It is right next door to two historically overlaid properties. And right here is a vacant parking lot, major intersection. Here's our annex building for the city of San Angelo. As you know, that Cohenheim going one way north there and West Beauregard being a major thoroughfare going east and west, going into the heart of the downtown. So this is the building in question. Many of you have seen this building built in, I want to say, in the late 50s. You can see it has more of a facade that has kind of the faux rock or the rock that has been installed. It's got parking here on the side. You can see over to Cohenheim, and is just, I wouldn't say a plain building, but it is representative of that time frame. It has got some very square and sharp facade faces. It has the glass faces. And so now I'm going to go through a series of images that also shows kind of this corridor here. And so here's at the intersection, looking to the east. You can see the subject property there. You can start to see some of the buildings behind there. You can see the downtown and see what is there adjacent from this view. Now you get just past the building. You can just see it right back here. This one is historically overlaid, and this one is historically overlaid. And as you start looking at the facades on those two, those are more of the classic early mid-century design as opposed to the more stark squared body off as well as the faux rock facade on this design. So you can see where they start having where it goes, and I may have a better image of this one right here. you can start seeing, pardon me, the curved features, which has a little more of the Art Deco style, which was from the 20s and 30s and early 40s. And then as you move into the 50s, 40s and 50s, 60s, then you start getting back to the more square style. And I talk about that because that's going to come as part of the decision-making process. You can see this building here. I suspect it's had a facade change at some point because it is stucco. That probably was not the original facade, but it has been changed over time. So as we keep going along the corridor, you can see the Ann M. Thomas building. Again, got this nice curve that kind of comes out right here. Very classical Art Deco style, and then it has the arch that comes back on the top. And then the KSJT building, which was just a very more 20s style building, teens and 20s style building with the kind of the faux columns that are introduced in here and the items up at the top of the building, which is, as you get further into downtown, this is more of the style that you see. As downtown expanded, you saw the other styles come out. Let's see if I have. So this image may be the better one that you can kind of see across the street. As y'all know, probably 3 or 4 years ago, there was a building that was an original building for downtown that had gotten in such disrepair it had to be demolished. Kind of across the street, and now we have this building here that has some classic Art Deco styling at the front. The building to the right of it is more of a 60s, 70s style that has a lot of glass frontage, and that's the corridor kind of coming in on Beauregard. So the question at hand is, did DHRC make the right decision to deny the request of demolition of the structure at 231 West Beauregard? Their vote was 6-0 opposing the demolition of that structure. Their reasoning was they wanted to review the site holistically. What is going to go back on that site? What will replace the building that's being removed? Because this is in the downtown district, not the historic district quite, but the downtown district. They have the authority to look at any demolition of private structures in this area. The other item is DHRC will have the authority for any redevelopment of the property of any type, whether that is a new structure, whether that's an accessory use, whether that's a parking lot. They do have the authority to make decisions on that. So in the 2021 historic survey, this structure at 231 West Beauregard was defined as it does not possess sufficient architectural or historical significance to be individually eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places, and they would be a contributing resource if located within a historic district. So they would not rise to the level of a national historic place, but they are considered a contributing resource to our downtown. So the next statement is the architectural style is a medium contributor, not a high contributor, but we have high, medium, and low. It is a medium contributor to the mid-century style, while other properties adjacent are more reflective of the Art Deco and the classic modern style. So that was kind of the genesis of the report, the genesis of some of DHRC's review commission decision of how they got to, we do want to deny the demolition of this building until they see what is going to be replaced there. Is what's going to be replaced there be as significant as the building that's there? So again, they did vote to deny. Staff did struggle with this, but we did recommend approval at DHRC for the demolition, and we do recommend for the demolition with 2 conditions today. One is secure approval from DHRC with an elevation rendering of the proposed structures for this lot and the adjacent lot. Both of those lots are owned by the same property owner. It is unknown if they're going to move forward with a structure, if they're going to put the properties up for sale. We just don't know that. But our proposal is if it's approved to demolish this structure, they would have to go to DHRC and get whatever new structure is approved. And that goes through the color materials and everything through DHRC. And they would also need to obtain necessary permits and inspections as the Permits and Inspections Division would require. Now, part of our challenge is are we staff this came to us, we said, we want this to go to DHRC. We don't want to make that decision because it's very important. We had to make a decision internally of are we putting our development hat on, or are we putting our historic downtown district hat on? And that can be challenging at times. And so that's our challenge here this morning is how do we move forward with a demolition if it's allowable, but without a guarantee of anything may not come back to that property. And that's the challenge we have. And Mayor,
Yes.
you know that as well. And so I'll turn it back to you. If you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer what I can.
I strongly support DHRC's deny to demolish because it's bigger than did it fit into this category or this category or this category. The number one problem we have in that district down there all the way through Shannon are too many empty parking lots on primary intersections. When you look at urban development, when you look at historic development, when you look at development, what you don't want are primary corners, intersections with empty lots. Because guess what happens at 6 o'clock? They're dark and they're empty, and it makes it look like you don't have anything going on. So people might not make that right turn to go into the historic district because it's dark and it's empty. We should not demolish a building. We cannot focus simply on is it this decade or is it this decade or is it this design or is it this design? What we have to focus on is what we look like. If you take that building down, you've got a major big piece of property that is empty. And across from it is another big empty parking lot. We have too many major intersections with empty parking lots that make us look like we're dying. We need to have development. We don't need demolishing. We need development. And this is a major intersection, which already across the street is empty. And this expansion of this parking lot, big black asphalt parking lot, which will have another big black asphalt parking lot next to it.
Yes, ma'am.
We can't demolish it. We need a plan. We cannot keep taking out buildings and leaving empty parking lots because we're soon just going to be known as a big empty parking lot. Drive around downtown. Look at how many major intersections are parking lots. And you look at downtown redevelopment, the number one thing they'll tell you not to do is in your major intersections have empty lots with parking lots. This goes totally against that policy. So DHRC got it right. Do not demolish. That's my comments.
Thank you.
Yes, Harry.
Since this is in my district, I got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
One of which, in the background information on multiple resource area thematic group on number 46, Princess Ice Cream Company entered in the National Register in 11/25/88.
Yes,
So
sir.
tell me what that means.
So this building right here is that building that was entered in 1988. It was submitted to the National Registry of Historic Places and did receive that designation. It does not have a local historic designation, but it has a national historic designation, and that is that structure there. And so that is part of that history of that block. And so that's why we included that, is that block does have these two buildings right here are locally designated. This building here has got a national designation because of the history of that building, the classic modern style that it has with the curves. And so as the National Historic Places looks at things, they look at that architectural style. And so that's why that was in there, just to give you a history of what's going on with that block.
Very good. My next comment, since the mayor's already started this, is I'm not going to support taking this building down either until I see what kind of building may be replaced with it. So I'm going to make a motion to deny the appeal.
Thank you, Harry, and second by Karen. Tom and Tommy, I think you both had your hands up, and I don't care who goes first. Someone take the microphone and run with it.
Age before beauty.
Okay, there you go.
So, can you go back to a picture of this building, a close-up? I'm going to disagree with y'all. All right, we're just have a little difference of opinion here. I think that's one of the, I don't think that's a pretty building. It reminds me of the Brady Bunch. I think it probably has shag carpeting in it, if not on the walls, a carpet wall. So I get that it's in a Band-Aid between what we personally view as historic structure and contemporary structure. But I think who owns this? First National Bank of Mertzon?
That's correct.
They got it. So they're stuck with a building here that nobody wants, all right? Nobody's going to rent it. And because we make our, picture of it belongs in this window, you can't do anything to it. So how do they divest themselves of this? It's not doing them any good. And if the city wants to keep it in this window, then, so are y'all saying you'd be open to letting them get rid of it if they could build something that was appropriate for the overlay to go in its place?
Yes.
But
they haven't tried to lease it. You
Right.
say that, but that's not been the path forward. The path
Right.
forward is just demolish it.
Right, I don't think they've probably pursued it. I imagine they've seen it in this issue here, and I wonder why it even came to this. Who brought it up? Is there a process that they were going to do something, and that's why it got here? I just hate to handicap First National Bank of Mertzon with a building that's ugly. I hate to say it, but I don't know where you go
Buildings
with it.
are personal things.
Yes.
That's
They
your
are.
personal opinion.
It is.
Okay, you
It
don't
is.
like it. But what you'll like less is a great big asphalt empty lot.
I want to
next
clarify, you
another
said
big
asphalt. Did you say
I
asphalt?
made
I'm not
sure I
if you
said it
big
correctly.
asphalt
Strong
or how you said
emphasis on the PH.
I got it. So
We can't have more empty parking lots on our major intersections. It is a negative
So I agree.
anytime you
We
do
agree.
that.
I agree with that. I don't want to see a parking lot there, but I want to give them at least the ability to put something there. If we deny this, does that mean just the building stays forever?
What we said in that document was until you bring back what you want to do with it.
So they would have to sell it to some, if they don't want to keep it, they've got to sell it to somebody. That person has to make sure that's approved before the binding can go through. It's a lot of steps.
It is for a lot of
calling it like I see
reasons.
it.
We don't like big, black asphalt parking lots on every corner, and we got so
Amen,
many of
Brenda.
them. After the hour of 6 o'clock, it is not attractive.
That's a big-ass decision right there that we're going to deal with.
There you go.
Anyway, I am
Yes.
through. I just wanted it to be known, my opinion on the 1980s Brady Bunch house there.
We
or
agree,
70s.
it's not about the design, as he already spent a lot of time talking about. It's about big, black asphalt parking lots. Tommy?
Hebert.
We got millions of comedians out of work and everybody up here is cracking jokes.
Everybody needs a straight man.
Aaron, do we have any earthly idea if the building is not allowed to be demolished? Have they even given us a hint? I think the answer is no, but I hadn't heard this clearly. Have they given us a hint of what might happen? Is it just gonna stand there and deteriorate?
I think there's a potential for that. They do have potential, since this is a larger lot on this side, to develop something there. And that, they have mentioned, well, that may become parking at some point. We have not seen any definitive plans. They have not gone to design. And so it could just be real estate property that they own and maybe they sell off. It could be something, because as you know, and you can barely see it here, their main bank is right there across the alleyway behind
right.
that faces Tuig. So the question is, I don't think they would redevelop a new bank there because of that building hopefully is satisfying their needs. Now they might develop a drive-through bank there, but again, that would be 3 lots, and so there's a lot of space, but I'm not sure if that happens or not. There's nothing that we can do from a city standpoint. As the mayor said, if the building's demolished, we can't require them to rebuild on private development.
And at what point then, if it just remains and nothing is done, then if it, I guess, devolves into a dangerous building situation,
Then we would turn that over.
then we've got some recourse if it is
True.
deemed a dangerous building by our
Correct.
fire marshal.
Correct. We would turn that over to the fire prevention team. They would work through that. I'm sure there's always a chance that people break into the structure. Hopefully that is not the case. And I know the bank is going to do the very best they can to secure it and monitor it. I mean, they're very close. But it is, just like as banks own properties, they will find something to do with it over time.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yes. Larry.
I have a couple comments. When I drive down Beauregard, that is the most eye-catching piece of structure. The other ones, those Art Deco ones, they just don't intrigue me as much as that building, okay? In the 50s and 60s, we tore down a
Our
lot
era,
of...
not yours.
Go ahead, Larry, I'm sorry, you're talking about this building. You got to go first.
Yes.
Okay.
That was rude.
I'm making sure I understand you. I want to have an understanding.
Now, where's my trend of thought on this?
You like the
Oh.
way the building looks.
He said a lot of buildings were starting to be demolished in the 50s and 60s.
We've torn a lot of buildings down on Beauregard. We put up steel and glass. To what end? It destroys our heritage to just take them down. That building, as you're describing, is close to 70 years old. I feel for the person who purchased it, but they certainly should have considered what would happen along the way before they resold it or leased it out or whatever. That was their bad business mistake, I guess. And it does have a beautiful tree in front, ma'am.
There you go. We have the DHRC for a reason. They voted 6-0 to deny the demolish. We have that group that is specifically responsible, Design and Historic Review Committee. They voted 6-0 to not allow it to be demolished. Just saying. Yes, Tommy.
Aaron, can you give us staff's, you talked about it a little bit, but can you maybe expand a little bit more on staff? You grappled with it, sounds like internally. Can you give us a little more insight as to why staff came up with recommend to demolish?
Yes, I think I can. So within our last historic survey, they categorized hundreds of buildings in our downtown proper of high, medium, or low. This property came back as medium. And to Larry's point, it is to that point that yes, it would qualify as a historic structure based on its age. And it is a description, as they even said, of a medium contributor to the mid-century style. And so the challenge for staff was, if we allow this demolition to go forward, and with DHRC still being able to see what may go back there, they still have the authority to make design decisions. However, that's the challenge for us is, on one side, we are very controlled by how do we allow development to move forward in a quick manner, and how do we still preserve our history, and particularly our history that is on the edge of our downtown, going to our downtown. That is a struggle sometimes for staff, and me included. And so we struggled with that, and so we erred on the side of, okay, well, if we allow this, if this was, and that's why we kind of put that condition in there, is that it couldn't be torn down until DHRC approved the design and they got their building permit. That still is not a guarantee they're going to rebuild. And so there is a risk of the demolition taking place. That's as close as we could get without saying, okay, we think it should not be demolished either. Had this been in the historic district, not the downtown district, I think our decision would be different. Had this been a historically designated building or a high contributor to the historic area, we would have said no, we would have agreed firmly with no demolition. And so that's the challenge for staff. I'm not saying that we are 100%, you must allow them to demolish this, but they asked for the appeal, we bring it forward, we present this to this group, and let democracy take its place.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Mayor,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
we did have
did-
one
sorry.
person sign up, Jamal Schumpert. It looks like he stepped out, but I just wanted to be sure and give
Okay.
him an opportunity.
All right, so with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of denying, I gotta make sure. So if you want the building not to be torn down, vote yes. Is that correct? It's what I'm
The
trying to
the
figure
motion
out
is-
how,
The motion was to deny the request for
To deny the
demolition and
appeal.
uphold the DHRC vote.
that's the motion. That's the second. This is the vote. All those in favor of, so you'd vote yes. All those in favor of upholding the denial, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion passes.
I'm a team guy.
Some 7-0. I didn't hear any nays.
We're a team player.
We're a team player. Thank you for your support and for ensuring our heritage moves
I
forward.
have a bunch of cars that are the same age that we should protect too. My God. 70s model.
See, it was only medium, it wasn't even low. And
Some
if
medium
we
El
start
Caminos.
tearing down all the buildings built in the 70s, I got one on the corner of Chadburn and Beauregard that's one of the uglier buildings in.
It's prettier than that one.
No, it
offense, Larry.
isn't. And that is moving on. So we'll move on to our closed session. Executive session under the provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. Section A, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property regarding the following tracts of land. 1, 202 acres out of A-8138, South-20J, West Johnson Survey. And 2, 141.67 acres out of A-4018, S0019, WCRRCO Survey. And B, Section 551072, deliberations about real property regarding property at the intersection of 47th Street and Crockett Street. And Section C, Section 557071, consultation with attorney regarding legal issues with annexation. We are now adjourned for our closed session. This meeting is called back officially at 10:36 a.m. on this January the 21st. As a follow-up to our executive session, I'm going to read item AI. Consider accepting an annexation petition for 1,205.573 acres of land out of the following surveys and abstracts. Abstract-4018S-0019, Survey WCRR Company being 141.67 acres. Abstract-4019-S-0021, Survey WCRR Company being 7.9 acres. Abstract 8138 South 20J, Survey W. Johnson being 200.11 acres. Abstract-3945S-0001, Survey E.J. Wortham being 113 acres. Abstract-5145S-004, Survey T.J. Smith being 528.893 acres. Abstract-8134S-0010, Survey J.W. Johnson being 194 acres. Abstract-8134S-0010, Survey J.W. Johnson being 117 acres. And Abstract 4984S-002, Survey J.A. Ingleston being 3 acres under the ownership of the City of San Angelo, Tom Green County, Texas, generally located south of Highway 6, US 67 between Harriet Road and Highway US 277 and Highway US 67 interchange, and setting a public hearing on the annexation for the for the February 18th, 2025 timeframe. Aaron, you're on.
Yes, ma'am. This is a petition that is coming forward from the city of San Angelo to annex the 1,205 acres approximately out of all of those abstracts and surveys that would bring that into the city limits. We are asking to set a public hearing for the annexation on February the 18th, 2025 here at City Council.
May I have a motion?
Motion to accept the annexation petition.
That is made by Karen as a motion and seconded by Larry. Any public comment? None. So we will take a vote. All of those in favor of accepting this annexation petition, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Item B is consider approving various board nominations. Animal Services Advisory Committee, Jayton Geese, SMD 5, to a first term ending January 2027. Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, Trey Holmes, SMD 3, is chairman of the board for a one-year term ending January 2026. And the Planning Commission, Liz Albert, SMD 4, to a first term ending January 2027. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
So moved by
Ma'am.
Harry, seconded by Lucy. Any
Ma'am.
public comment? Sorry, did you have a second, or did you have a question?
I had a question, ma'am.
Well, we have a second, now you can ask the question.
I'm concerned, somewhat concerned over the gentleman for the chairman of the board for the tax increment reinvestment zone. As I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, but he's a resident of Cristoval, and I don't see where there's a significant vested interest in him applying for this job.
I think there is some concern there. And so, question mark is, do we want to approve that today, or do we want to do a little more investigation and ask some more questions concerning
Please.
it? You want to postpone it? Okay. So with that, let's do the Animal Services Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission appointments.
Move approval of those two appointments, Mayor.
All right? Yeah, second by Lucy. No public comment, so we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes to approve the Animal Services Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission. Okay, item C, announcements and consideration of future agenda items. Are there any?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I don't know if we need a report or whatever. I, not frequently, every now and then, just drive all over town looking at stuff. So I was driving through.
Pick on Tom Day.
Yeah, it's picking on Tom Day. So is anything going on at Kirby Park? Any activity? I didn't see anything.
Or the 29th Street
29th
complex?
29th Street.
29th, yeah, project. Is anything going on?
The contract has been initiated, and so the contractor should have a notice to proceed at this point. They'll start with the dirt work first, but Al was checking on a time frame in which they thought they would start turning ground.
Okay, maybe a Friday memo or something.
Yeah,
Well, I
and
think
Tom has
with-
asked for the same thing.
Okay.
But basically, yes, they've got their stuff. The permit is supposed to be totally issued, and he was checking on when they thought they would actually start turning ground.
Okay.
I think to add to that, there's three things that I think we need some updates on immediately. One is the 29th Street complex, one's the river stage, and the third one is the animal shelter improvements and relocating in the transitional area, whatever. But those have all been out there a couple years now in terms of conversations and budget amendments, et cetera. So we need movement, and we need to be updated on all those three projects.
I've asked Al for the river stage one as well, so we can put all those in a Friday packet.
Good. Thank you, Rick.
I need that.
Move we adjourn, Mayor.
Okay, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. We are adjourned officially at 10:42 a.m.